So, Five Nights at Freddy's the movie. It's finally out after what seems like forever. Definitely timely. But anyway, I decided to watch it, and here are my honest thoughts about it. I'm going to have two sections of this video. First one is going to be non-spoilers. Second part's going to be spoilers. Honestly, there's nothing to spoil in this movie, but just in case you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, whatever. But if you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, you know the story. There is literally nothing here that I could say that would spoil the movie. So, but whatever. Some people are really sensitive to spoilers on the internet, so whatever. Okay, so I'd say reviewing this movie is kind of like reviewing the Mario movie, because much like the Mario movie, if you're a fan of this, franchise or IP, you'll probably enjoy it okay. If you're not, there is nothing here for you. Much like the Mario movie, this movie's getting some really bad reviews, and I don't blame them because, like I said, if you're not a fan, you probably don't understand the appeal. And as far as just like a objective movie goes, I'd say this movie's just fine. It's all right, but nothing special at all. Especially, with if you're an outside person and you don't know anything about Five Nights, but you are aware of its hype and its popularity, you're probably looking at this and going, "What's the big deal?" But if you're a fan, then there's a lot to like here, I think. I myself, while I don't play the games, I have watched people play the games, and I did find the franchise interesting with all its lore and everything. But like I said, unfortunately, this one doesn't really add anything new to it. It's just an adaptation of the first game, basically. So I knew everything that was going to happen before it happened. But that's, like I said, it's like the Mario movie. You know what's going to happen, but you just hope that the ride is entertaining. And I thought it was decently entertaining. So what's the story? Well, who am I kidding? I'm not going to explain the story. You know the story. Really, the only thing that they added was they had to give some more, I guess, characters to the characters. The main characters couldn't be a voiceless, faceless security guard. So, they had to give everyone character and stuff. And I'll get more into that in spoilers and stuff. But basically, security guard at an old Five Nights at Freddy's, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza place. And, hijinks ensue because the animatronics come to life. And there's a whole mystery about it. But like I said, everybody knows the mystery and stuff. But I'll get more into that in the spoilers section. So what I like about the movie, first off, it looks really good. The animatronics and the pizzeria itself look pretty much identical to the games, and they're all practical effects, so that's really cool. And much like any good video game-based adaptation like the Mario or Sonic movies recently, it's just nice to see these things actually done well and stick to the source material for the most part, because most video game adaptations back in the day, they didn't do that. They just did whatever they wanted, trying to make it for a wider audience, which always backfires, because why would you want to go for a wider audience? You should be making it for the fans, especially if the thing already has a huge fan base. Why would you even bother going after, mainstream audiences? They don't care. As the reviews for most of these video game movies, the critics clearly don't care. But anyway, so the look of the movie is really good. It's shot really well. It's decently paced. And while there's a lot of exposition, especially since I already knew what was going on, it was kind of pointless exposition for me personally. But of course, they have to put that in case somebody's not familiar. And even if you are familiar, you still got to establish all this stuff, or else it's just going to be a bunch of random stuff happening. So, yeah, a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of quiet moments and slow moments and stuff, which is fine. Five Nights at Freddy's isn't exactly the most high-octane game. A lot of times you are in silence trying to keep an eye on these things and all that other stuff. And trying to adapt that into a movie is kind of hard, but I think they managed to do it. What about the things I didn't like about the movie? My only main problem with the movie is that the animatronics don't do enough. Like the opening scene and I think a third of the way through the movie is when they actually get to kill people. And you kind of wish that they would do more of that, especially with the climax and stuff. But in the climax, they get taken out pretty easily. And even when they come back, they get back up, obviously they don't do much, And again, I'll get more into that into the spoiler, territory. But I just wish the animatronics did more. It's not like they're not there. They actually are on screen for a good portion of the movie, more than I thought. But they just don't do much, You expect them to do more considering they're, obviously they're the main draw and the title characters, basically. You just wish they could do more with them. But overall, I think it is a decent movie, considering how bad video game adaptations have been in the past, even though they have gotten a lot better. It could have been a lot worse, but I think it's decent. If they do a sequel, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 or whatever, then maybe they can actually have the animatronics do more and stuff. 'Cause that's really the only major problem I have. So that's it for the non-spoilers. If you're interested in seeing the movie, chances are you've already seen it or you're planning on seeing it. So, see it if you want. It's hard for me to. I don't recommend it to anybody who isn't a fan because there really isn't nothing there for you. But whatever. Okay, so getting into spoilers here. So I might as well get this out of the way. Is the climax of the movie, because that was the most disappointing part. After they get easily beaten by electricity, stun guns, which, by the way, wouldn't a security guard in the games have one of those? That's pretty basic for a security guard to have. So if they could easily be taken out by a stun gun, wouldn't you do that in the games? I don't know, nitpick, but whatever. So they're easily taken out. All the animatronics are easily taken out. And even when they get brought back, they come back, they don't do much. They turn on, their master, the real villain, which is William Afton, of course, purple guy, as he's also known. They don't do anything. The cupcake kind of takes them out. Like, Chica's cupcake gets more attention and more does more damage than anything else in this entire movie. I don't know why. I don't know why the cupcake is so important and does everything, but yeah, it's really weird. You'd think all of them would attack him or something to get much more of a satisfying ending, but no, they barely do anything. And like I said, they're just taken out so easily. It's kind of disappointing, It's wait, these are the things we're supposed to be scared of. And on that note, this movie isn't scary at all. But to be fair, it doesn't seem like this movie's trying to be scary, which is kind of weird. Maybe Scott's probably fully aware that most of the people who like this movie are kids and teens and stuff like that, so they didn't want to be too scary. It's almost more like a dark comedy more than anything. There's one scene where someone literally gets bitten in half, which made me laugh out loud, and insert Bite of 87 joke right here. So yeah, I felt like this movie was more funny than anything. And that's fine, it's kind of a goofy premise when you really think about it, So, but it also might be because I'm desensitized to Five Nights at Freddy's by this point. It's been around for so long, and I've seen so much of the games and everything like that I don't think this movie could scare me even if it tried. And it's not like I'm an incredibly brave person or anything, I'm not that hard to scare. It's just that I can't be scared by Five Nights at Freddy's anymore. I just can't. It's just I'm desensitized to it. None of the jump scares even got me, It's that's when you're really desensitized to Five Nights at Freddy's, when even the jump scares don't get you. Okay, so let's talk about the characters. In most horror movies that I've seen, one of the biggest problems I've had with a lot of them is that a lot of the characters are usually incredibly unlikable. And sometimes that's done on purpose because, it's so you don't care when they're killed off or whatever. But you still need to make your main characters, I think, likable and stuff like that. I didn't really like a lot of the characters in this movie very much, even the ones you're supposed to like. I mean, I didn't hate them, but I'm just kind of ugh, I don't really care. If they die, I don't really care, which is why towards the climax, one of the main characters looks like they're going to get killed, and I'll just kind of meh, whatever. Which, by the way, the one who almost gets killed is the police officer woman, Vanessa. She gets left in a coma, which I thought was a little kind of cruel, even for this movie. It's okay, so they saved her and she's still conscious when they save her and stuff, but then it cuts to her in the hospital and she's in a coma, not waking up. I'm okay, that seems a little needlessly harsh, but all right. But not like I care that much, but I'm just saying that seems a little pointless. I don't know if they're keeping that open for a sequel or whatever. Not to mention, this movie has a really blasé attitude towards death. The people who die in this movie, one of them is the babysitter for the main character's little sister. She dies. And even when he finds out about that, he doesn't seem to care that much. It's really weird. And even his aunt gets killed in his own house. It's never brought up again. After she's killed, it's never brought up. He never acknowledges it. It's never acknowledged by the movie. And this is a real problem because she was actually a bit of an antagonist in the movie. She's in a custody battle for his little sister that he's taking care of. And considering that she was murdered in his own house, you'd think the police would consider him a huge suspect for that, It's not even brought up, It's so crazy. Is anyone going to acknowledge the deaths in this movie? And the aunt who dies, like I just said, she has people who she hired to go into Five Nights and trash the place to try to make the main character, Mike, lose his job. And they get killed. She never brings that up. she never even sends more people in to try to mess up the place, you know? And considering how desperate she was to get this plan off the ground and get the kid, you'd think she would have acknowledged the fact that her goons were just killed, or that, but no, not at all. Never brought up again. Like, no one acknowledges it. Even when the bodies are found, it's barely mentioned. And I'm like, geez, do people like just not care about death in these movies? Like, I don't know. It's just seemed really weird to me that death is not acknowledged at all when it should be, you know? That was really weird. There's also a lot of nitpicks I could do. Like, I found it weird that Freddy was actually able to leave the restaurant and go to Mike's house and kill his aunt. Like, could they do that? Could the animatronics leave the pizzeria? That never happens in the games, I don't think. I don't remember them like officially being able to go out, because wouldn't they just do that? I don't know. It's really weird. It's a nitpick. And also, right after that, the little girl and Freddy get in a taxi to go back to the pizzeria. First of all, how did Freddy get to the house? Did he take a taxi? And second of all, why would the taxi driver drive a little girl and a giant animatronic anywhere? She just jumps in the car and he's like, "Where to, little lady?" I'm like, "What? No. How do you expect to even get paid? What's she going to pay you in? You know, what are you doing?" Like, yeah, it's like I said, this is coming off more comedic than anything. But, this is during the climax of the movie, pretty much the lead up to it. And it takes itself pretty seriously during the climax. So this seems really weird. Like, again, it's a nitpick, but there's a lot of nitpicks in this movie and stuff. It's just one of those things where, like, you shouldn't think about it too much, but, whatever. It's, like I said, there's a reason I think a lot of critics are hating on this movie. A bit harshly, yes, but, again, most of them probably aren't familiar with the franchise and how it is, the tone and everything, but, whatever. I don't want to make it sound like I dislike this movie, because I don't. I do like it. There's it's like I said, I wish I didn't know everything that was going to happen, which it's because the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's is always the most interesting thing. But if you already know the lore and nothing new is being added, whatever. Also, I wished that William Afton was in it a bit more. He's only in the beginning and the very end, and I feel like he should have been more of a presence, considering he's the main bad guy. Like, they didn't have to. I know they tried to keep his identity a secret, even though it was very obvious who he was. But they could have had him in the shadows, in the Springtrap suit, just lurking around the restaurant, maybe seen with the other animatronics, kind of manipulating them or something like that. Because it feels like just throwing him in at the very end for like 3 minutes or whatever it was that he was on screen was kind of weak. Like, I felt like the climax in this movie was just weak overall. Could have been a lot better. But, there's a cool little shot of them dragging his body off after he gets his, so that was kind of cool. Though, like, it's weird that the restaurant starts like falling apart. Like, how did that happen? Was he connected to the place all wrong, and if he dies, the whole place goes down? Like, they could have had the whole place catch on fire during like a big final battle or something. That's what I thought they were going to do. Like, there's going to be a big final battle, and then the place would catch fire and burn down like it usually does in the games and stuff like that. That would have been cool. But whatever. Overall, I think it's a decent movie. I'm happy that I saw it. I think it was kind of cool, just to see these things on screen and be actual practical effects. That's always cool. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.